What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. This story's called, An Employer Mistakes Me for an Employer. I often think back on this story and figure I'd share it here. Backstory. There seems to be an aura about me, or something, that says security despite being a 5'5" female and 110 pounds soaking wet. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it's my choice of clothing, I don't know. Some people had told me it's probably my semi-permanent serious expression. I actually have worked security, but it didn't last long, only because the company I worked for went under. One time, two guys were fighting at an event. I was working security, and I was babysitting one of the guys, while another security guard babysat the other one in another room until the police would show up. The entire time, the guy was profusely apologizing to me for his behavior. I thought it was kinda amusing. Once I was outside my favorite nightclub, I wasn't really in the mood to be clubbing, so I decided to just hang out with the bouncers outside for a while. I was friends with all the staff at that club, and often I'd be hanging out with the staff after closing and wrestling with the bouncers. Both the bouncers that night were well over 6 foot and buff as heck. At some point, one of the bouncers said to the other,
"Isn't it great to have her,
me,
here? Nobody dares to have an attitude problem while she's here."
and the other one agreed. I'll admit, it was a huge ego booster. Security jobs aside, I always seem to be asked if I work at whatever place I go to. But to this day, I've never been asked by a Karen, so I don't really have any juicy stories to tell about that. I guess in a way, a security guard would be a pretty good job for me despite me attempting to avoid conflict at all costs, because everything always seems to run smoothly when I'm around and there's never any conflict. Although those who know me wouldn't care one way or the other. A friend of mine once described me as ice on the outside, but teddy bear on the inside. That's actually a direct quote. So on to my story. I guess it's not very long though, and it doesn't include a lady despite the name of this subreddit. During the night, in my home country, security guards man shifts at 24-hour gas stations and stores because of drunk and drugged up idiots roaming around. Security guards not working that moment would get some benefits at each place, like free coffee, bathroom usage, etc. One Saturday night, I went to one of the 24-hour stores with my friend to get some sweets for the night. My friend was the ultimate girly girl, while I'm more of a tomboy. I was wearing my usual camo cargo pants and black windbreaker, pretty much what I always wore. I asked the security guard at the register if I could use the bathroom. My bladder rarely ever goes off when I'm not home, but when it goes off, it needs to be emptied ASAP. The security guard said, "Sure, it's right inside the staff area." I went and used the bathroom. When I was finished, my friend told me that she also needed to use the bathroom, so I guided her to the bathroom. I figured since I was allowed to use it, she must be allowed to use it too. But nope, after my friend came out of there, the security guard told me that the bathroom was for staff only. Oops, now I get it. He thought I was a security guard. I didn't dare tell him that I actually wasn't a security guard. I figured it would be better for his job security not to know. He assumed. I never claimed to be, so it ain't my fault, right? When I've written it down and read it over, it does seem to be a very boring story, at least compared to all the other stories on here. I thought it was amusing because, you know, it requires a lot of backstory, and I appreciate lore and world building, even if it is true. With backstory never hurts. It's nice. Thank you for sharing. Enjoy unlimited bathroom privileges wherever you go. It's a really interesting superpower, though. Alright, this story's called, You Can Start by Reprimanding This Lazy Little Crap Ted Thingy, Then You Can Get Me a Discount. Brief explanation. Companies will not be named. I work as a mobile cell phone repair tech for a company that is contracted through the insurance company. We do insurance repairs for all major carriers, but we don't work for the carriers directly. We work for the insurance company. Even though we don't technically work for the carriers, sometimes customers just requests that we meet at their carrier store because they're about to trade their phone in and the screen can't be broken if they want to get the full trade-in value. Couple of months ago, I had just finished a repair for a woman and had brought her phone into the store for my work van where I was fixing it. I gave her my spiel about the warranty and whatnot and get her to sign the paperwork. As I'm walking out, a surprisingly not Karen-looking woman puts her hand out in front of me and goes, "Excuse me, I'm next in line." I had crossed in front of the line to get to the door, so I assumed she thought I was trying to cut in. "Oh, sorry, I'm on my way out," I say with a smile and start walking again. She sticks her hand out again and goes, "But there's still customers here and I'm next in line." It took me a beat of just out and out staring at her before I realized what was going on. My uniform is a black polo with our company logo on the front, and I was wearing black jeans with it. Nowhere on my uniform does it have any sort of carrier logo on it. I used to have a lanyard with the Samsung and Apple logos on it, but I stopped using it because people were confusing me as a store employee. The employees in the store were all wearing blue in tan. Well, in the time it took me to realize what was going on and process it, I guess she assumed that she's caught me because she now has a smirk. "Sorry, I don't work here." Or at least that's what I wanted to say. I get to say, "Sorry, and she cuts me off and immediately launches into some drawn-out story as to why she needs another phone for her mother-in-law who isn't tech-savvy, so she wants to give her son's phone to her mother-in-law because it's an older iPhone so it's easier to use, but her son isn't ready for an upgrade yet, and on and on. She keeps talking without stopping, so I can't cut in. And there's enough chatter in the store that in order to talk over her, I'd have to raise my voice fairly loud, which I don't want to do because I don't want my company looking bad. So finally, she gets to the end of her story and asks what I can do to help her. I smile and tell her that I'll snag a store employee for her, but she steps in front of me and goes, "You're working with me right now. I don't want you to pawn me off to someone else who I'll have to explain this all over to again, just so you can screw off for 20 minutes. Up to this point, we'd both been relatively respectful to each other, but as soon as she said this, it flipped my switch. I slowly and belligerently look over at the counter and raise my hand, and as luck would have it, the manager sees me and makes eye contact. As I'm doing this, my new friend snaps in my face and half shouts, "Hey, I'm talking to you, sir!" The manager gets to us and immediately picks up on what's going on, since me and the other techs from my company, are in his store every other week or so he recognizes me.
"What can I help you with, ma'am?"
he asks with a smile. "Well, you can start by reprimanding this lazy little turd crap thing, and then you can get me a discount." The manager nods and puts his hand out to try and guide her towards the counter and tells her that he'd love to talk with her about it at his station. Homegirl grabs my shirt sleeve and goes, "Well, bring him too. He already knows my problem." The manager just nods and goes, "Yes, but he's not a store worker." Not a lie. And he has other appointments to get to. She sneers at him, then at me, and kind of tosses the wad of my sleeve she had, and she shouts, "Well, he could have told me instead of wasting my time." He guides her off to the counter, and I make a break for the door. I finally get in my van, fire it up, and queue up my maps to my next appointment. Since I'm parked, I decided to check some messages and see what social media notifications I had. I must have been sitting there for a while because all of a sudden I hear banging on my van. It's this crazy woman slapping the hood of my van with one hand and flipping me off with the other as she's walking in front of my van. She totters off and gets into her car and screams out of the parking lot. I don't understand why she got mad in the parking lot. I don't understand. Why did she just start assaulting this dude's van? That is just, I don't know. It's absurd. It's funny. It's hilarious. Just imagining that. Just runs into her car, just drives off, continuing to scream. This story's called, I've never actually worked for you. Why are you paying me? If this doesn't belong here, please let me know where it ought to be. Thanks. This story requires some audience participation. I ask you to please raise your arm high above your head and make your palm parallel to the ground. Back in August, I had it up to here, see your raised hand for reference, with call center work, and I got a job offer to work in the warehouse at a company I will cleverly call Rainforest Online Company, where you can purchase literally anything your little heart desires. It's gotta be AutoZone. I filled out all the necessary paperwork and attended the interview. The interview itself raised the first red flag because it was barely an interview at all. They didn't ask too many questions about my experience. They didn't even really try to sell me on being part of the company. I was basically spoken to as if I were already hired and we were just going over logistics. It was clear that they didn't care about me as a worker or as a person. They cared that I was a warm body who was willing and able to show up for a shift, but I was too tired and broken from customer service work to really question it. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of the American working class. I signed up for my first day and arrived on time. I lined up with the rest of the newbies on our marked social distance spots and began my journey through the new employee implementation to-do list. But that's where my journey that day ended because my username and password didn't work to view the training materials. I was escorted out and told I would get an email when my stuff worked and to sign up for my first day again after. A week went by and nothing happened. I tried calling, but no one would put me through to anyone who could help, and I was told to come back to the building to sort this out. This is where it gets stupid. I came back and arrived at the front of the building. I explained my situation and what I needed and was told to go to another department, a 10-minute walk. So I did, and that other apartment told me to go back to the front where I just was. I told them, no way, I was just there. And they said, okay, wait here. I was left alone for about 20 minutes and then they came back and said to go to the front. So I did. What else was I gonna do? And the people at the front said to go back to the office I was just in. I did my very best not to completely lose my crap and told them all about my walks all over the damn building, and they said, okay, wait here. I was left alone for 45 minutes and a new guy I haven't seen yet shows up with a computer and says that the issue was that the system terminated my employment because of reasons that require a really long explanation and nobody cares. So he said he was gonna fix it and I would get an email. I inquired what I should do if I don't get the email. He promised I would get the email. I asked if there was a number I could call. There wasn't. So I went home, and after several days of not getting the email, I decided Rainforest could go screw itself and I would go find work elsewhere, which I did, by the way. Then the paycheck started coming. I have given you all this background so that you will understand that I have tried and tried with this company. This was not done without effort and emotional sacrifice. That's right, folks. I had signed up for direct deposit. Rainforest was directly depositing funds into my account. On the one hand, free money. On the other hand, it's not really free money, and once they see the mistake, they'll probably want it back. I called the employee line 4 separate times. I was past HR, billing, payroll, accounting, back to HR. No one could explain the money. 2 total transactions were deposited and months went by. In November, I started a new job, and in order to view my pay stubs, I am required to sign into a particular app. I did and found the pay stubs from 48 hours of work at Rainforest. I have 2 theories. 1, they recycled my employee ID and some poor sap was clocking in with it until they realized they weren't getting paid. 2, someone was assigned an employee number similar to mine and was clocking in with it until they realized their mistake. Who knows? I don't know what I'm gonna do when tax season comes, but that seems like a problem for future me, and that's exactly how I live my life. I don't even think about it though. I just say, it doesn't matter. And even though I know deep down it does matter in the long run, but that just sounds like a problem for future me. This story's called, I'm Not Getting Paid for This, So No. This happened years ago when I was in college. Not quite an I Don't Work Here lady. My friend was dating a girl who had a connection with a major concert venue and convinced me to volunteer to work security for a concert I wanted to see. Hey, free show, right? All I had to do was wear an ugly shirt and make sure everyone was safe. It was hot as hell and there were a lot of drugs going around. I was just wandering through the crowd and talking to everyone and checking if some of the people who looked a bit too high needed medical attention. End of the show, one of the security guys tells me to go to the other side of the venue to help out with the after party or something. I get there thinking I'll just explain that I needed to leave because I have to work in the morning. That's when I met the head of security.
Who are you? I don't recognize you.
I was sent over here to help out.
How do I know you work here?
I'm wearing this ugly shirt. Why else would I wear it?
Give me your ID.
He took my driver's license and took a good 20 minutes to check that I was actually registered to work security. During that time, a lot of people came by asking how to get into the party, and my response was, I'm not looking. Head of security returned my ID.
All right, you can work.
Thanks. I'm not getting paid, so I'm going home. My friend had been waiting in the parking lot the whole time, wondering where I was. In the days before we all had cell phones, there was no way to tell him I got held up. Had 2 security stories in one freaking episode. That's interesting. It's always funny that, always tend to get, very similar, jobs that are, you get what I'm saying, in each episode. Unintentional. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.